Hey guys, welcome back to Project E. Man, as hard as this is for me to do, I'm gonna break down Sam Rayburn, Stage 1 Bass Pro Tour. I did catch an 8.7, so you guys are gonna wanna see this 8.7 fish catch. I think it's pretty epic. It is the highlight of this tournament for me.
From the top of the mountain.
Man, guys, I gotta be honest, I'm dreading doing this recap of Rayburn just for the fact of I felt like I did really poorly. And I'm glad it's been a few days because I probably couldn't have done this the day after the event or the next day after the event because I was still pretty upset about it. You know, Rayburn's just a lake I know really well. And that ends up being my nemesis because everything that I knew about Rayburn is out the window. You know, let's just start right here. Let's start, you know, we start in the boatyard and we drive out. You know, we all meet right here in the boatyard. Kind of cool. They made this a trailering event. You know, when you got 3 guys in the boat, me, camera guy, boat official, you don't need to be busting across 5-6 footers, you know, and that's capable on Rayburn. So they let us know in advance just so we could practice that way. So we all meet up in the boatyard. We can leave the boatyard by 6:45. We can go to any public boat ramp, launch by 7:30, lines in by 8. And they actually have a staggered launch every 10 seconds you get to go. So everybody does have an order to go in, which is really neat though. You know, with the boat officials, there's never a chance that somebody's gonna break any rules and be on some other body of water. I just think it's really cool. So we leave out of here and I get to this starting spot. And I'm telling you, I really thought I was gonna whack them right here. In practice, this is a prime deal what I wanted to find. It was off the beaten path. This was a set of grass before, not in a popular creek. You know, it's kind of off the beaten path. I don't even really want to say much about it, but it's just a little special spot. And what made it special was, just a little backup, the Rayburn was almost to full pool. It had risen 3 to 4 feet over the last few months, and that made an inside grass line. And you know, when I got there, that was gonna be my focus, inside grass, 4 to 6 feet of water, depending on where I was in the lake is what that level was, where it was at. And you know, this spot right here, where I start in practice, I found it on Google Earth. It's a clean, sandy spot on the middle of a splitter point in a big creek. Beautiful hydrilla, you know, starting about 4.5 feet of water. And I caught like 2 5s and like 2 or 3 3s, and I mean, my hooks are bent in and they're just choking this bait, you know, this war pig right here. And you notice here when I'm here this morning, it's dead calm, like super calm. And I catch that little one right there. And I fish around with that war pig. I fish around a little bit with the Fritz side. And then I turn around right here and I pick up a swimming worm. And man, I lose like 4 on 4 almost consecutive casts on that swimming worm. Something's just not right. You know, what I think's happened, looking back on this, I think these fish got found by somebody else. I just do, because one of them I caught had like, you know, hook marks in it later in the tournament. They just weren't eating the bait right. Right there, I picked that worm up and man, it's like, I get bites. I mean, it's just, I never got any of them in the boat. I hooked them, I get another worm out. It was really frustrating, you know, because I knew there's a big group of fish here. I was really counting on putting a lot of weight on the score tracker right here before I moved on. Yeah, frustrating deal. So I'm not gonna cry over spilt milk. I've already relived that one. Let's fast forward on through my day. I spent quite a bit of time here because I knew there was a good group of fish here. I move out to the next point, inside grass again. You know, that's what I felt like was gonna be such a key deal. In my mind, I felt like these fish hadn't spawned yet. And you know, hindsight's always 20/20. You know, looking back over this event, I guess some of them had spawned, maybe, you know, watching the live the final day, you know, some of those people felt like they were catching some post-spawn fish. But, you know, the water was 55 degrees when we started. Caught another non-scoreable right there, and I turn around, I catch another one right here, you know, all in that swimming worm, you know, just with no clouds, no wind. I felt like that was my best case scenario as far as trying to get a few fish in the boat. But, you know, that water 55, we had that big snowstorm, ice storm, you know, all that stuff that hit Texas, just hit Oklahoma too, hit all of the southern part of the country. You know, I felt like these fish hadn't spawned yet, you know, and so I felt so good about that spot. And I actually didn't fish this spot in practice. I thought, man, it looks good. Maybe they moved right out here. So I'm just moving out, hitting points as I'm coming out of this creek. The grass again is beautiful. It starts at 5 foot and goes out to about 10. It's 3 to 5 feet tall. It's just phenomenal looking grass, but don't do any good. So I move on up, and in my history of Rayburn, guys, as much as I fished it, I mean, I feel like it's one of my most favorite lakes. I always say you got 4 or 5 areas that what you've got to fish. And if I was to say them, you know, if you wanted to go on down the lake, you know, you've got Needmore and you got Farmers down the lake, the mouth of Miller. Those are good areas. But then you got Veach, you got Harvey, and you got the Black Forest. In my history, in my career, 5 out of the top 10 of every tournament, if not 8 out of the top 10 out of every tournament, comes out of one of those 3 areas. And I'd take 15 out of the top 20 comes out of those areas. You know, just it's a very, very good area. And it's just where, you know, when you have a 112,000 acre lake like you have Rayburn, you have to narrow it down to when you have 2 days of practice. And so, you know, I really locked my heels in, and that's the area I practiced for the most part, you know, and spent the most amount of my time. And in practice, I really developed a strong offshore inside lipless crankbait bite. I mean, it was just incredible. Just like that starting spot, catching those 5s and multiple 3-pounders, I did that in a lot of other spots, but it's more just catching 1 or 2 or 3. Then I'd have to move to the next inside point or something and catch a few more. Looking back, in practice, I had a lot of wind and I had a lot of clouds. And I've got a picture of that war pig somewhere. It is chewed to pieces, and it was a brand new one when I started the practice day. Caught another short there. You know, right here, I'm in the Black Forest, and I feel like this is an area you win. This is an area you catch big fish. This is an area you catch lots of fish. I don't know. It wasn't, obviously. And so I'm still searching, looking. I'm throwing a jerkbait a little bit right here. The one thing I did wrong in that whole scenario, and I try it some a little later in this event, but with those conditions, that much pressure on the water, I'm sitting there trying to get him to react, throwing a fritz side, trying to get him to react, throwing a war pig, a lipless crankbait. You know, I tried a spinnerbait, a heavy spinnerbait a little bit. That swimming worm, reaction baits. I should have, I know better, picked up that ball and chain, picked up a shaky head, picked up, you know, a drop shot. We saw how good Justin did on a drop shot. Picked up something outside the box. We talk about that all the time, Edwin. You got to get outside the box of what everybody else is doing and slow down. When you have that much pressure on the water, you know, there's 560 boat tournament there the day before we started. There was multiple 100 boat tournaments, just lots and lots of pressure. It was so hard to find a place to fish. You have to get outside that box. And, you know, I had so many bites in practice on that lipless crankbait, it was hard for me to do that. I should have recognized that sooner. I didn't do that. I pulled up stakes 3 hours into the day, and I'm like, okay, you guys can have this part of the lake. I'm not married to it. I'm gonna run up, and I run all the way up to Stanley Creek. And I was blown away. Like, I ran to get away from boats. I ran to get away from pressure, to find fish that did not have a trolling motor going over their head every 3 minutes. And I get up to Stanley Creek, and it's not any better. There's boats everywhere, not tournament boats, fellow competitors. I think there's 5 competitors. You don't run up the Angelina River, 1, to win, 2, to place very high, and 3, because there's lots of boats up there. And they were everywhere in there. And I still felt okay about it. I had like one bank in there that I felt was, you know, we also talk about thinking outside the box. It was an ugly bank. You know, you can see here, there's lots of cypress trees. Well, right before this set of cypress trees, or right after this set of cypress trees, I think it's right after it, it's just a channel swing bank, but with very little cover. I had like 6 flipping bites down that bank, and it just looked really, really, really good. And I thought, well, it's okay. It's probably not getting pounded. And you know, I wanted to go flipping. I just got back from Falcon, catching so many fish flipping. I just like it. Yeah, this bank right here, you can just notice it's just not as good as looking as everything else. I shook off a monster in that tree right there. I shook one off right there, shook one off right there, and I didn't catch anything down it. I caught that little fish right there. I shook one off there. I'm fishing, fishing, fishing. I catch another one right here. Again, non-keepers, non-scorables, they have to be 2 pounds. I mean, these fish are all 14 and a half, 15, 15 and a half inches long. They're just not 2 pounds. And pretty frustrating deal. I thought, slow down, just slow down, slow down. So I really slowed down, soaked my critter hog around these trees, and it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me at all. And you know, I had other stretches in this creek that I thought, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. I finally catch me a keeper right here. Let's just watch it. Let's just relive it a little bit. Oh, I'm pretty frustrated by this point. It's not a big one, but it's a 2 pounder, and the 2 pounder that week was gold. Gold. Problem with that fish was it sucked me in. I stayed in there another, heck, 2-3 hours. You know, I fished on down this bank, fished these islands back here. The next best stretch I had, you can see a boat in the background, was right there. I had 3 or 4 bites right within a 20-yard circle, good ones. There's a crappie boat sitting there and a bass boat sitting there. So it just, you know, when I ran away from that core area of the Black Forest, I'm thinking I'm gonna get to an area that doesn't have boats. I get up there, there's just as many boats. It's neat that many people are fishing, but I'm gonna have to make some adjustments in my game going forward to this, because we got a lot more people fishing than we ever had before. Keep going down the bank, I catch 2, 3, 4 more short fish, and caught one right off the bat right there, and then I go all down this bank and I never caught another one. I just didn't understand. I didn't actually practice on this bank, it just looked good. Long story short, I stayed way too long in Stanley Creek, way too long, just for the amount of boats that was in there. So now I've run up the lake. I've run all the way up there. The silly GoPro didn't get the fish catch, but I catch a 315 on like the second cypress tree, and I felt so good about these cypress trees because I shook one off almost on every one of these trees in practice. Well, that 315 was the only one I caught down that whole stretch, and it sucked me in. I fished a few more up there. Looking back, hindsight's 2020, watching the final day, well, there's other competitors fishing these trees. I didn't realize it at the time, but I think these trees had been fished prior to this. Another competitor that I was competing against. This is a really good stretch. Thought I was going to do really good on it, and it was main lake. It was something that was not back in a pocket. I felt like it had more fish moving in. Didn't do any good on it. You know, I caught that one 315. I catch 4 or 5 shorts going down through here, but never caught another one. Okay, so I leave those main lake, and I had one other pocket where I'd shook some fish off. I had like 3 good ones in here I shook fish off on. And it was kind of frustrating because I felt like I could at least find multiple fish. Because you guys got to remember, when I'm practicing, I'm not trying to like hit every side of a bush. I'm not trying to catch every fish in there. I'm really going fast. So I felt like, man, if I've caught 3 fish in here, there's gonna be more, you know? I'm gonna do okay with it. Well, I don't. I don't catch any new ones on any of the spots. And then right here, it's about to get really frustrating, because this is where I thought, man, I know it was a good one. I shook it off. When I shook this fish off, I was like adamant that it was a good one. And I'm about to pitch into the tree where I shook him off. There's the pitch. Oh, I mean, my heart's sinking because I'm not getting a bite. I didn't set the hook on this fish, and I finally get the bite, and this is what comes out. And you can hear me talk about it. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. I know it was a big one when I shook this fish off. It's just one of them bites, you flip it and went, thunk, and just, and it was a big fish, not this 1 pound, 12 ounces, whatever it says. And I'm like, oh, and I just like, I flip back in there and I almost give up on it. And then this fish right here bites. I was like, I knew I shook the good one off in there. Oh, this fish made me feel so much better. So this gives me 3.
She's fixing to leave.
3 pounds, 15 ounces.
Right there.
Long, skinny fish too. She'd already spawned, but there's 2 fish in that bush. I'd been doing that a bunch, but it made me at least get my confidence back a little bit, because I knew I shook a really good fish off there. So I go around, I've got a couple other spots that I had bites in here, and my day is getting away from me super fast. Like, we are supposed to be done at 4 o'clock, and run to the other side, flip all the way around this. I shake off a big one right in here. And again, the fish I catch is a non-scoreable right there. And that's not the fish I shook off. I mean, I felt like this one here was like super big, and I pitch, and never get another bite. And I'm pretty frustrated by this point. And so I've got to go do something else. And I take off, I fish some more main lake cypress trees that I hadn't fished yet that look good. I don't get any bites. And I'm like just sitting here trying to make a decision, and there I go. I take off running all the way back down the lake, running through the stumps. Thank Jesus I never hit one. I take off all the way back down the lake, and I'm still not really sure where I'm going. And then at the last minute, I decide I'm gonna run in this creek. So I get in this creek and I notice just a stick sticking out just a little bit further. And it's gonna be about in this pitch right here. And this fish really caught me by surprise, because this is not where I had any bites in practice. It's on back in the creek. And I'm just like on top of it when I get the bite. And I can't reel up all the slack enough. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a giant. I mean, a for sure big one, a really big one. And I'm just trying to hold on to it, because I did not feel like I had a good hook set at all.
Got her. Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's an 8-7. You talk about getting back in the game in a hurry.
Yes. Yes.
8 pounds, 7 ounces.
8 pounds, 7 ounces.
Don't let go, I got swallowed.
So what they do right here is they swab this fish. They're checking the DNA of this fish to see just what genetics it is. You know, they've done all this Florida genetics. They're just trying to see the genetics. And it's really simple. They just take a Q-tip and they touch the tongue. I wish you guys could see this. I got my GoPro set up a little too high. Really cool, just a Q-tip. They put it back in an envelope. They're doing it on all 7 pound and bigger bass. It's really cool. We got this biologist traveling with us, and yeah, I think it's a neat aspect that they're doing. I was so happy to get that bite, you know, and I was like, oh man, nobody's been in this creek. I'm gonna wreck them. And I get up here to where I shook a bunch of fish off, and I don't get a bite. But then I do get this bite right up here.
Yes. Yes.
I get that bite right there. I saw that fish eat it when it came through that tree. Just flipping that Berkeley critter hog, and like it goes in, and I just see that fish. She was a suspended fish. I mean, she wasn't spawning. She was out in the middle of that creek. And you can see right there, it's a perfect spot. Somebody has caught her and weighed her. There's a hole right there. I'll try to circle that. You can see like she's been caught and weighed and released. Right there you can see it, or culled, one of the two. I don't know who'd cull that 5-1, but she's been culled or caught here real recently. Kind of cool she got released though. She's a big one. She is a big one. Yeah, I was pretty excited. Man, that gave me 23 pounds with 5 fish. I know I only got 4 of them here on GoPros for you guys, but just really made my day awesome. I was in 5th place. The cut that day was like 10 pounds. So I felt like I was super strong going into the knockout round, and man, just felt really, really good about it. So guys, that's my day 1. Man, I run out of time, and so thankful for those final 2 bites. So thankful for those final 2 bites. It was a difference maker for me. It's never over till it's over. I got that, you know, to catch an 8 and a 5 in the last hour was huge. Yeah, a little bit of luck's involved, but it was still, I was going as hard in that last 30 minutes as I was going in my first 30 minutes. And that's something I try super hard to do. And that's something to pass on to the younger anglers. I see so many of them. I've you know, volunteered to be a boat driver for high school students. They don't fish very hard that last hour, you know, especially if, you know, I was in 25th place, 26th place with those 2 fish or 3 fish. So you got to fish as hard that last 30 minutes as you do that first 30 minutes. It's the hardest thing to do, especially if you're not getting any bites. And that's a prime example. I had an 8-7 and a 5-1 with 30 minutes to go and skyrocketed to 5th. Nobody knows when I caught those fish. When I come in at 5th, it looks like I'm a rock star, that I had a great day all day. In reality, I caught those 2 right there at the very end of the day. But it's a good example of fish as hard at the end as you do in the beginning. But let's move on to day 2. It's kind of downhill. That's like the highlight of my event. But I do try to make some adjustments. So I'll show you guys what I tried to do. So here we are, day 2, man. They got a camera in my boat. I pull up on a spot right here, spot I hadn't practiced, but it's a spot I had history with. It was on down the lake quite a bit further than I'd been fishing. Actually in the back of Coleman. Man, it's a spot that me and Matt Reed in a team tournament one year did really good. Again, a sandy spot, inside grass, creek bend. I catch a 114 on my second, third cast, and I'm like, I am going to destroy him back here. And I don't. So I move out, hit some more grass points. You know, I'm really looking. I'm using this day as a practice day. I haven't even been in this creek all week, trying to find something different because it just didn't go for me. I've got in my mind today, I'm not going above that 147 bridge. Even though I caught most of my weight the day before up there, I'm not going up there because I feel like you win between the dam and the 147. And that's where all the good grass is. That's just where the biggest bass. That's just historically where it's been. And that's what I'm going to try to do. And I try it hard. I mean, I try it really hard all day. You know, I go from Coleman to Veach. I catch a ton of fish in Veach. I mean, just a ton. I lose one really good one flipping that I don't know, I just lost it. I don't know what else I could have done different. You know, I think with these weather conditions I've got right there, clouds, I got a little bit of wind, I am throwing that war pig a bunch. I'm hard-headed. I feel like that's how you do good on Rayburn this time of year. And for whatever reason, I cannot make it happen with it. I'm fishing these inside grass edges, focusing on that 4 to 6 foot of water. Here in Veach, that inside grass was a little bit deeper. I get back in this one creek and there's just fish everywhere, and I start catching some on a jerk bait. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I tried it all. I pull out a topwater. I catch one right here on a topwater, throwing the old jaywalker. Kind of a cool bite. you know, and that was immediately. I had a bite like on my second or third cast, and I'm thinking, okay, this is what I need to do. And again, you remember I said, looking back, I should have slowed down, and well, my thinking outside the box is to throw this topwater. And I can't tell you how many of these fish I caught that just weren't scoreable. They had to be 2 pounds, and it just wasn't good. Wasn't good. I lose a good one right here flipping. This flip right here. Perfect mat right in the bush. I go to the back side of it. Go! And it's a good one. And that's all you see of it right there. Gosh, dang it. That's hard to swallow. I don't know what I would have done different. It looks like I did everything right there. So that makes me think flipping. You know, I try to flip on around through here quite a bit. I flip a lot of bushes from here on out. You know, I mean, this pocket here has got a bunch of fish. I caught all those fish. I caught some on a swim bait. You saw me stop and get a little swim bait out, a jerk bait. Back to the top water, and I'm flipping, and I go through flipping, and I do not get another bite in Veach flipping, not one. And I think I should have. I don't know what to say about that. So, guys, I'm gonna save y'all from misery and save myself from this misery, because I go the rest of the day and I go through it all. I try to go back to the creek where I caught the 8 and the 5. It is blowed out mud, like mud. You can see it right there, just mud. I go back through and I flip some more bushes, you know, back around there, and non-scoreable, non-scoreable, non-scoreable. You know, I don't know what else to do. Man, when I flip in this bush right here, I think I done have an 8-9 pounder again. The whole bush moves when he goes to bite it. Watch this. The bush just moved, my bait starts swimming, and I set the hook, and I like break everything, and look at that. Monster catfish.
Oh, no.
Monster catfish. I mean, this thing's...
crap.
My boat official's even upset over it. Oh, that's my luck. I don't know what else to do, though. I mean, I went to the back of this creek, a little bit dirtier water. I think, you know, shallowness, flipping wise, it's better. Catching them on jerkbait, I go back over to the forest area, start jerking around there, and I can catch them just at will on that jerkbait. Again, I have not picked up that Carolina rig hardly any. So we're going down. We are, like, you got to realize, like, by this time of the day, I'm hurting. Like, I have gone from 5th place all the way to 18th place. 18th.
Golly, this day sucked. I quit practicing pretty early.
Oh yeah, and that's old Rob Newell throwing me under the bus there. He's like, because I told him in the morning, I was like, man, I'm gonna use the day as a practice day, and he's like, you still out there practicing, Edwin? You know, because I haven't caught one, and I've gone down this all the way to 18th place. I'm fixing to get knocked out because I have not caught a bass, and catch a couple more short fish right here, and with just 20 or 30 minutes to go, I catch this fish right here that's like, and I ran all the way back to that first creek where I started the first day because I felt like it had a lot less pressure. It had the green grass, it had flooded bushes, it was still a little dingy. I could do it all in there. I just felt like it's less pressure. I knew there was a bunch of fish in there. Maybe they've moved up in the bushes. I'll go flip them. I flip it all and don't have anything. And then I'm like really hurting at this time. I can't even breathe. Like, I feel like somebody's just strangling my neck. I'm getting about 1/10 of the air, the oxygen that I need to be getting, because I have fallen from 5th to 18th. And you guys got to realize, you know, at Red Crest, I didn't make championship today, and I really thought I should have, and I think it's happening again. It's like deja vu all over again. And man, when this fish eats this jaywalker right here and I get it in the boat, you'd have thought I caught that 8-7 again. I'm so relieved because this gives me that cushion that I am gonna make it to the next day. So here's the bite. I can't explain how I feel right now. My throat's hurting right now just because
1 ounce.
2 pounds, 1 ounce. That was like the biggest weight off my shoulders. I could breathe again. I felt like I had a little oxygen in my body. Oh, that's a relief. It's a relief watching it again. I'm having to relive all this. I mean, because I knew that made me. You know, that just put me up enough where I was going to make this the knockout round. So, wow, yeah. Moving on to day 3. I survived barely by the skin of my teeth. I gotta get a drink of water. This is too hard to watch. All right, so we're moving on to day 3, guys. And you can see here, I got clouds, I got wind and rain, and I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna stick to that war pig. I am going to make that happen. That's how you win on Rayburn. Yeah. New day here, you know, so now Group A and Group B all meet. Mark Davis is putting in the same spot I'm putting in. We wait around till line's in, get my boat official in the boat. So I don't start in the back of that little hidden deal. I go and I start in the backside of the forest, and I catch a bunch of fish right here off the bat. I mean, a bunch of them, just lots of non-scorables and all kinds of them. I mean, just left and right, there's just more. I mean, I'm catching lots of fish here. And I pick up the ball and chain. You can see it's calmed down. There's fish everywhere. They're eating it. I lose a couple, and I finally catch a keeper on the old ball and chain. But I do it for another 30, 45 minutes, and I don't catch keepers. And I don't know, I didn't want to do it. It's just hard for me to do that, guys. I don't know. It's hard for me to do that. So I feel like I'm expanding a little bit. I finally catch me a keeper here, you know, go through how many of those non-scorables, and I catch a keeper on the Carolina rig, and I do it for a lot longer, you know, and I try 4 or 5 more areas throwing that Carolina rig, and I'm catching lots of fish. I'm just not catching good ones, you know, scoreable bass. You know, but the day's early, so I try it for quite a bit longer. It doesn't happen. I mean, it just does not happen. I try to go back to the creek and it's muddy again. I don't get a bite in there. But then I'm gonna try to flip another stretch of shallow bushes, you know, back there, and I'm getting bites doing that, and they're just close, you know, the fish are close to being scoreable. And then I finally catch this scoreable bass right here. Oh, yes!
0 ounces.
I'm so excited. I caught a 2-pounder. Who would have ever thought it? Rayburn, you should get excited about catching 5-pounders. So now I'm at 2. I'm sitting okay in the standings. I think I'm like, I know I'm within a scoreable bass of making it, you know, so I just keep doing what I'm doing here, and I don't catch one. Like, it's so brutally hard to get a 2-pounder. I do not catch one. And I don't know. I don't know what to have done different. I run through all kinds of stuff flipping. And you got to realize when I get out of the back of that creek, then things get cleared up, and it's like stuff gets deeper. I get in here where the water's clear, and I start throwing a topwater a bunch, throw a floating worm a bunch. And I make the decision to run all the way back up the river. I've got to run from boats. So I run back up that river, and I run into a pocket I've never fished. It's just a short little pocket, and it looks so good. And I catch 2 crappie in there. And then I got like 4 or 5 minutes left. I tried another spot here. I tried Carolina rigging out off this point. I saw a bunch of fish on my Lowrance, nothing. I go up through here, I flip these cypress trees, nothing. And then I'm like, I guess I'm just gonna go all the way up to where I caught those other fish on those isolated cypress. And you can see right here, it's rough. And I get up there, and man, I don't catch them. I just don't catch them. I fish all the way through this pocket, don't catch them, and I felt like I should have. And then it gets really rough, and I run Ray up there to what I felt like was the best set of trees right here. Well, it was a really good set of trees. It's the same set of trees Gerald Sporer fished the final day. I just wasn't swimming a jig, you know, and I was fishing on the bottom. So it goes to show bait does matter. You know, those fish were feeding up, and either that or those fish weren't there that day they moved in. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't catch one. That's my day. Guys, I don't know what to say about it. It's so hard to watch. I didn't get it done. What did I learn from it? I learned my outside the box wasn't outside the box enough. You know, I should have downsized my line. I should have finessed them more. I learned I was in the wrong section of the lake. 9 out of the top 10 guys were all above the 147 bridge. I didn't spend very much time up there at all. I tried to there at the end of the day. And I was pretty stubborn. I was stubborn. I was going to catch them on that war pig, and I was stubborn. I was going to catch them flipping. I didn't really try much more than that. You know, I tried the topwater deal, and I caught quite a few fish on it, you know, but only 1 or 2 scoreable. Well, 1 scoreable. I tried a Carolina rig a little bit that final day. Wasn't great. So my power stop brakes break down on my gear. It really boils down to, you know, my main bait was that critter hog. I was throwing watermelon red. I had it on a 5/16 weight, a 4/0 hook. I just like that bigger hook. You know, it made me put a lot of baits on because you wanted to have fresh bait to where it wouldn't come through to get hooked in the buckbrush. That's pretty much what I caught everything on that first day, that 23 pounds, and one of those other bass them other 2 days. Caught a keeper on a jaywalker, and I caught a keeper on a Carolina rig. So nothing fancy about those. You know, that critter hog was the main deal. It was you know, it's just a really small, compact creature bait. And yeah, those were my baits. I was pretty stubborn. You know, I tried that war pig a bunch, a 1/2 ounce war pig. They bit it big time in practice, throwing it on 14-pound test. I could snatch it in that grass, rip it out, and I'd get a big bite at will in practice on that thing. It died for me in that tournament. 1, conditions. 2, you know, weather conditions. It just got calm. It got sunny. It got clear. 2, the other thing it died is because just pure pressure. So many other people throwing it, just not any other fish moving up to bite it. So, yep, that's what happened. I appreciate you guys watching. It's really hard for me to do this one because I wanted to do so well at this tournament, and just still scratching my head of those fish at Rayburn. How can it be that tough? It's Rayburn. I kept telling myself it's Rayburn. I know there's bass here, but being stubborn like that's what really cost me from, you know, doing better in this tournament. As it is, I finished 34th, got a decent check, but I'm not satisfied with that. I want to do better. I want to get those fish figured out. I'm fine if I go catch a decent limit and get beat. I didn't catch but 1 fish the second and 2 fish the third, so won't happen again. I can promise you that. It's not on that lake at that time of year. I will have a different game plan going into it. So I appreciate you guys following along. You know, we got some other cool videos out. You know, we just put out the top 3 baits for April. You guys are still gonna have time to comment on that. Be sure you subscribe, comment. We're gonna mail those out, pick 3 lucky winners. And we also got a really cool video on where to start. We're giving a battery away every month in those, just, you know, for you guys liking and commenting and subscribing on those too. Really easy. I'll be able to mail you a certificate of Optima Blue Top battery. Great battery. And then we got a super cool video with Ott. Me and him talking. I wanted to ask him how he got started. It's going to be a series. We're going to start with all the pros. You know, all the anglers, young anglers, they always ask, how did you get started? So we're gonna go through and we're gonna interview a bunch of pros on how you got started. And no better than our first one is Ott Defoe. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I did beat him though in pool. You guys are gonna have to check it out.